Vibes, hot vibes, hot vibes. In today's video, hey, welcome back actually. Welcome back once again. In today's video, I just want to talk about the ego some more and also the fears and understanding the ego to a higher perspective so that way you can actually start to tame your ego a lot more basically, because we need to tame our egos a lot more so we can start to balance ourselves out and have that spirit flowing. So we need more spiritual energy flowing throughout the grids, not this egotistical controlling type of energy, because let's all be honest, that doesn't get us anywhere. It's the con of all cons, thinking that you're in control, but that's the illusion of having control. That's why when I ever say, that's when I ever say, we don't have power, but we do have power at the same time, because it comes from spirit. The ego wants to make you believe you have control, but at the same time you don't, but you do. It's you'll understand it once you tune in a lot more and actually go through the stages of consciousness basically. So basically, I'll just get into it right away. So we have the ego, right? And basically, what is the ego? What does the ego deal with, right? So the ego deals with the body and the mind. So, and what is the mind and the body basically? It's this physical, PTU, your body. And so basically, and it deals with the emotions, desires, things of, things that like thinking about things, words, speaking, seeing things, touching, sensing. The ego has these certain, wants and desires, or like certain feelings that it has, because when your body and your mind is dealing with the ego still, you're dealing with certain emotions, you're dealing with certain, desires within yourself, because you're not, if you haven't fully tamed your ego a lot more higher than you ever had in your life, you're not going to understand this message to a certain degree, but at the same time you might, as long as you tune into the right frequency basically. So basically, the ego deals with fears, emotions, desires, right? So when you're being attacked by these agents, what are they doing? They're attacking you to get your ego to lash out, so that way you start going into lower stages of consciousness, back into your mind and your body basically. So you want to make sure you're shielded and protected and meditating on a daily basis, so that way that stops. Because if you don't do those things, what happens? If you're not flowing with spirit, what comes back into control? That snake starts to come back into you, and it starts controlling your mind and your body. And if you start having problems with certain fears and emotions and things like that, and certain desires and wants to have things, that's ego. Because deep down inside of us, when you see all these like people that are certain celebrities or certain basically all these, say these families that accumulate a lot of stuff, that's the ego. The ego wants, if you start to see where the ego, you can start to make your own observations and see, the ego for what it is. If you start to see, if you're trying to accumulate this stuff, what is that? The ego wants things, because it wants physical matter, because it doesn't matter. The spirit knows it doesn't need the matter. What matters most is love and connecting with other people. And that's why the world is all about, right now, if you can look at the world, all it wants to do is basically acquire things. It wants to separate itself, because the people are living in their egos. And not everyone's going to make it out this time, but you have to start understanding your ego, so that way you can break free from all these programs that these agents are trying to basically get you to be programmed with. Because you don't want to be programmed with the ego, you want to be programmed with spirit. You want to flow back into your natural state and get back into who you truly are, because the ego isn't who you truly are. That's the illusions part of yourself. You don't want to be tuned into the illusion self. You want to be tuned into your true self, because that's what's true. The truth prevails. The truth prevails all over anything else, because it's the truth. Lies are just lies and deception. So you have to understand the ego deals with these illusions. These agents deal with illusions. They're going to try to get you to basically have your ego get pulled out. They're going to try to get you to lash out. They're going to try to get you mad. They're going to try to get you to do all these things basically to get back into your mind and your body. So you start to want, when you go to a store, you're like, oh, I need to buy all this stuff. But when you're in a spirit and you try to go to a store, you're like, I don't need all this stuff, because if you already have the things that you need, spirit understands it doesn't need all these things, If you have the little things that you need, you have the things that are essential in your life, the main things that you really need, then that's your spirit's going to understand that, okay, I need these certain things, I need a place to live, I need a job to live, I need these certain things to live in this man-made matrix. But when you truly get into it even more, you're going to understand that you're not going to try to acquire all these things. You're not going to be like, oh, I need this and that. But like I said in one of my videos, the symbology, we can buy certain things that are going to help us symbolize certain things, help us, tune into a certain frequency and things like that. So, start to tame your ego so that way it doesn't get out of control and these agents, can pull it out of you. Because if your ego's like running your mind and your body, and if you're not putting your Trinity in motion, what's going to be controlling that Trinity? It's not going to be spirit, mind, body. It could be mind, body, spirit, or it's going to be body, mind, spirit. And you want to put spirit first because, spirit's supposed to be at the top of your Trinity. It's not supposed to be the ego. It's not supposed to be your mind. Spirit is what matters most, because that's what's going to get you out of here. The ego isn't going to get you out of here. It's going to keep you in a cycle, in a downward spiral, and make you keep coming back. That's why you need to tune into your spirit and basically, get out of this matrix. You don't want to keep coming back, because that's why people never leave this place, because they keep tuning their ego. They don't realize that they're supposed to raise up. When you look at nature, it's flowing, it's growing. So what are you supposed to do? If spirit lies within nature and the things that are in it, what are you supposed to be doing? You're supposed to be growing. And this is the illusion that these agents have created for everybody. They basically took their observations and they flipped it upside down. They did the mirror hex, and now when they do the technology and things like that, what is it? It's going down the downward spiral of chaos, because this technology doesn't lead anywhere. Where does it lead to? Where has all this leads to more separation, but at the same time, there's balance to everything. So that's why through this technology as well, spirit always finds a way to work through it, because if it wasn't that, spirit probably just be like, fuck this, I'm just going to delete everybody and be bloop. I'm going to restart, because that's the power. Spirit has the power to do that if it really wants, but spirit sees there's always a possibility to make things a change, because spirit understands things to a whole other perspective. That's all. That's what I'm gonna say that with spirit. But it's that's why they get you into your mind and your ego, because the ego created all this stuff. The ego wanted to create a man-made matrix for itself to live in. It's an illusion that it has, because it doesn't want to be in spirit. Because when you're in spirit, you're flowing, upwards. You're raising up in consciousness. But when you're living in the ego, what is the ego? It's the lower states to the chakras. That's why when they tell you to activate your kundalini, instead of you thinking that you're going upright, you're actually going downwards and back down into the underworld. You're going into that spiral downwards into the chaos and the loop where it leads nowhere. You go back into the maze of the matrix. That's why when you get in tune with spirit, you start rising on up. You start going up the stages of consciousness, and that's when you start getting more information. See, when you go lower into stages of consciousness, that's why they got so people confused in their minds and their bodies, because people aren't flowing with spirit. Spirit's always going to grow. Spirit's going up in life, and that's why when your frequency goes up, your vibration's higher. That's why when you start to feel a certain perspective in life, that's that you're raising up in the stage of consciousness. But you don't want to be becoming unconscious, because if your consciousness is lowering, what is happening? You're going back into the ego. Your bandwidth of the things that you can see is lowering. You're going into a downward spiral of chaos. You're not actually tuning into what you're supposed to be tuning into. Don't let the agents control your mind and your ego. Learn about your ego, tame your ego. Journal about the ego. Have ego talks with your ego so that you can understand it and start to see what the ego is, because you have to understand the symbology and the certain things with. This is like a little trio of videos that are going to really help you guys out if you truly tune in to the right frequency with it. And this man-made matrix was created to put people in a maze, because it is like a maze. If they put, where do you think they got the idea of putting a rat inside of a maze and making it go around finding the piece of cheese? You're supposed to find your home. You're supposed to get out of the maze. You're supposed to get out of that box that they have created. Because the matrix is like a box, basically. It's a box to get you entrapped and stuck in cycles, following certain loops and things like that, and never truly leaving. That's why when you get into nature, you're going back to that flow with things. When you're tuning in spirit, you're going back with that flow. That vitality within yourself. Because if you ever, if people are in the ego, you can even tell that they're drained. They don't have energy. That's why when you're spiritual, these people start to come around, and that's when sometimes people get fearful and they go back in their ego, like, whoa, I never experienced this type of stuff, because it's not they seem so unnatural, but it's not natural, because everything has been flipped upside down, and they don't want people to realize their true potential as spiritual beings. So, start to realize the symbology, and also, which was in my last video that I just made, but make sure that you tune into your spirit and start to see these things from a higher perspective, because that's going to make the difference in your life in getting out of here. Because if you don't want to get trapped inside of a matrix that goes in a downward spiral, right? Would you want to be stuck in a maze your whole life? Would you? Let's say you are immortal. Say if you were, your body was immortal, right? And they placed you in a maze. Would you want to be in that maze for your whole life? Would you, and then you would forget how to get out of the maze every single time you came back, right? Would you want that? And this is just a metaphor, you know, your body's never going to be immortal, so let's just be real about that. But your spirit is, you know, but you want to make sure you tune into the right frequency so that way you can, you know, make it out of here and make that change for yourself. But that's all I want to say in this video, you know. Tame your ego, learn about it, journal about it, meditate on it, go within on it, and hit all 3 points of your Trinity so you get that momentum and really turn up and really, you know, start to break free, because they don't want you to break free, so why not break free? Vibe high and do the things you're supposed to. My full gratitude that they're watching, peacing out with my highs and vibrations, and my full love. And high fives.